You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
Clashing over the conflict, a tense and unprecedented exchange between U.S. President Trump and Ukraine's President Zelenskyy. The outburst of anger and disagreement at the White House is our top story tonight. A hostile exchange underscored the tension that has emerged between the United States and Ukraine. The two presidents engaged in a heated argument as the cameras rolled. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has been following today's developments. Jeremy, walk us through this historic clash.
Heather, this was simply a stunning diplomatic disaster that unfolded with cameras rolling, a meeting that was intended to make any progress towards ending the war in Ukraine. Instead, it ended in chaos.
It started with a quip about what he was wearing as he walked in, but when the highly anticipated meeting got underway, there was no joking around.
You have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards.
Playing cards.
Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
It was a heated exchange in an Oval Office meeting as Trump pushed for Ukraine to make concessions and Zelenskyy sought security guarantees.
You think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you can...
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You haven't been alone.
In this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion. We gave you military equipment, and your men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment, if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days. I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
Less.
The visit was supposed to end with a deal over rare minerals, but the planned signing was canceled, as was a press conference. Tension never subsided. The vice president got involved numerous times.
You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count one.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
But Zelenskyy left the White House shortly after the meeting ended.
Now, following the heated exchange, Trump took to his social media platform saying President Zelenskyy disrespected the U.S. and isn't ready for peace if America is involved. Zelenskyy also posted online thanking the president for the visit and his support. Heather?
All right, Jeremy, thank you. The diplomatic outcome of today's incident, not to mention the consequences on the war in Ukraine, are still hard to fathom. But what is certain, we've never witnessed a public falling out quite like this. For more, let's bring in our political analyst, Eric Ham. Eric, first, I have to ask your reaction to this exchange.
Well, this is quite startling, and I've actually been in a number of those pool reports at the White House, even during the Trump administration. We've never seen the president or a vice president dress down a foreign leader in a way that we saw today. And I think what this does is this puts the negotiations back at square one even further than that, based on what we saw play out today.
Well, Eric, beforehand, it seemed for a moment this minerals deal was close, and now it feels more elusive than ever, plunging Ukraine into uncertainty. What would it take to get it back on track?
Well, that's interesting, because from what our sources are telling us is that it was the president himself who asked President Zelenskyy to actually leave the White House and that there would be no more talks or negotiations. We're told that President Zelenskyy actually wanted to continue the talks and actually speak over lunch, and that he was still in place and prepared to actually work on this minerals deal. So it seems like now all the cards are with President Donald Trump, and if he will actually continue to work towards a deal, based on what we saw today, it doesn't look as though he's ready to do so.
Eric, just quickly, a lot of European leaders have been sort of buttering up to Trump, if you will, so I'm sure they're watching this closely too.
Oh, yes. This, I think, puts Europe in a very different position. We saw the lobbying, the full court press over this past week with President Macron and Prime Minister Starmer, a meeting with Donald Trump. But now I think the onus on what happens with Ukraine and Russia, Europe will now have to play a much, much bigger role, because what we saw today, clearly the United States is walking away.
Eric Ham joining us this evening. Thank you so much for your insight, Eric. Just days ago, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was in Kyiv pledging support to Ukraine on the 3rd anniversary of the war. Canada and its European allies have taken a very different approach to ending the conflict with Russia. And what happened today was being closely watched in Ottawa. CTV's Rachel Aiello joins us from the nation's capital. Rachel, has there been any reaction from the Prime Minister or his office?
That's right, Heather. Yes, we have just gotten a tweet from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I'll read it for you here. Russia illegally and unjustifiably invaded Ukraine. For 3 years now, Ukrainians have fought with courage and resilience. Their fight for democracy, freedom, and sovereignty is a fight that matters to us all. He goes on to say that Canada will continue to stand with Ukraine and Ukrainians in achieving just and lasting peace. And this picks up on where Foreign Minister Melanie Joly left off just a little while ago. She spoke about this, saying that Canada's position remains the same. It supports Ukraine. Take a listen.
Clearly, the Russians are noting the interaction that happened today. And so our goal is to make sure that we can continue to support Ukrainians and that we can keep very strong G7 unity amidst all this unpredictability and sometimes even chaos.
And so this is also picking up on where the opposition have reacted as well, Heather. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh has called for Trump to be prohibited from attending the G7 that Canada is hosting in June, saying that he would much rather stand next to Zelenskyy than Donald Trump, who is currently suggesting annexing Canada.
Okay, Rachel, and there's other comments Trump recently made that have generated considerable reaction in this country as well.
That's right. So in an interview with a British magazine, Trump called Chrystia Freeland, Liberal leadership hopeful, whack, and tried to take credit for her cabinet resignation. Trump also spoke about Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, saying that he is, quote, not a MAGA guy. Now, both Freeland and Poilievre have been able to respond to these comments. And what struck me, Heather, was that they were both kind of able to use what Trump said to their own political advantage. Freeland, in her post on social media, said that the reason that Trump said that about her is the same reason that Putin kicked her out of Russia, saying that she doesn't back down. And then Poilievre said that Trump was right. He is not a MAGA guy. He is Canada first. So, of course, this is all coming in the context of those looming tariff threats and this Canada-U.S. tension that continues to persist as the countdown to the levying of those tariffs gets even closer. Heather?
All right, a lot to break down there, Rachel. Thank you for that. Ontario Premier Doug Ford is framing his election victory as a declaration that Canadians won't be intimidated by U.S. President Trump.
This election, we ask the people for a mandate, a strong mandate that outlives and outlasts the Trump administration.
Ford's Progressive Conservative Party won 80 seats in the Ontario legislature, forming a third consecutive majority government. Ford called the snap election because he said he needed a bigger mandate to deal with the threat of U.S. tariffs that could devastate Ontario's economy. Saskatchewan says it's open for business and ready to connect with developers looking to build pipelines in that province, offering pre-approved permits. The comments have some leaders jumping on board and other industry experts questioning what, if anything, this will do. CTV's Alison Bamford is looking into this story for us tonight. Alison, how did this all start?
Heather, earlier this week, Scott Moe tweeted a blanket pre-approval for any pipeline permits that Saskatchewan receives. And today he said it's about providing certainty in an industry facing uncertainty.
If we are truly serious about being independent as a nation and coming together and ensuring that Canada is energy secure and food secure and manufacturing secure into the future, that needs to be reflected in our policy development.
Although pre-approved in Saskatchewan, pipeline permits would still be subject to consultation, environmental assessments, and certain approvals that come at a federal level.
The other thing you need is a company that's willing to actually take up the project. And I don't see anyone in the wings that wants to do that in Canada or the United States right now.
Moe's comments prompted Alberta to start reassessing its pipeline policy to possibly align with Saskatchewan. This after Donald Trump expressed renewed interest in building the Keystone XL pipeline.
I think the Premier's expression of being prepared to give that level of support would be useful to encourage any developer who wanted to take up the possibility of a revival of KXL.
Political scientists say a pan-Canadian pipeline would offer more benefits and control to the country's energy sector rather than resurrecting Keystone XL, a pipeline that could just be a pipe dream now that the owner of the existing Keystone system says it's moved on. Heather?
Okay, Allison, thank you. There is growing concern over the spread of measles in Ontario as it grapples with its largest outbreak in nearly 30 years. The province is reporting 78 new measles cases over the last 2 weeks, bringing the total to 177 since October. 18 kids have been hospitalized. The virus is also spreading in New Brunswick, Manitoba, and Quebec. South of the border, one child has died as a result of the spreading outbreaks. 9 states are now reporting infections. Health officials say reduced vaccination rates are driving the surge in the highly contagious disease. Pope Francis has had another health setback. The Vatican says the 88-year-old pontiff suffered a sudden episode of respiratory difficulty and was put on a breathing machine. A spokesman says Francis is alert and oriented, but he is not considered out of danger at this point. Coming up, inside the heated exchange in the Oval Office.
You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying.
The global ramifications as diplomacy breaks down.
Tonight on CTV National News.
Absolutely devastating, humiliating.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars lost in one fraudulent bank transaction.
Everything looked like it was on the up and up.
What you need to know about the sophisticated GIC scam.
It really hurts, and it hurts my family.
Tonight on CTV National News and ctvnews.ca.
We're back with the shocking exchange dominating the political discourse around the world today. A meeting between U.S. President Trump and Ukraine's President Zelenskyy dissolved into a shouting match earlier, prompting the cancellation of a joint press conference and plunging Ukraine into an even more uncertain future.
Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a
answer?
lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn
We-
good chance of
we
coming
are
out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and your
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about West?
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of
accept
times
that they're
thank you
accept
to
that-
American people.
accept
Truly a remarkable exchange. In other news, a quick-thinking school bus driver in Ohio is being hailed a hero for saving more than a dozen children from a burning bus.
The bus driver said, "Everybody get off the bus."
The bus burst into flames on its way to a middle school after its rear tire ignited. The driver had just seconds to evacuate all 15 students from the vehicle. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. An incredible story tonight about a couple in New Brunswick whose home was ripped apart by an explosion a week ago while they were inside sleeping. The two survived, but not without injuries. They spoke with CTV's Sarah Plowman from hospital about their harrowing ordeal.
Scarred, in pain, but alive. Jason and Kelly Kavanagh are still in shock. 1 week ago, their house exploded.
Yeah, I just went to bed Thursday evening. Friday morning, woke up in the snowbank, looked over at the house. Everything was gone.
The home in Grand Digue, New Brunswick, blew apart while they were asleep. Jason woke up not knowing where he was, what happened, if he was dreaming.
I just called for Kelly's name. She finally answered. Sorry.
He came to me. He said, "We have to go." And I was looking at my feet that were completely destroyed and bleeding.
And we started working our way to the neighbor's house.
The two were rushed to hospital where they're being treated for a long list of injuries, especially Kelly. The explosion cracked multiple vertebrae, broke her pelvis, caused deep lacerations on her legs. She's out of the ICU now, but may have surgeries ahead.
It hurts. It's a lot. It's very painful. Yeah.
Officials are still investigating. The Kavanaghs believe the explosion was caused by a propane leak that ignited in the home's crawl space. The house is insured, but the couple has no home to return to. A GoFundMe page has fundraised thousands.
And just the support from everybody. It's overwhelming.
The couple is grateful to everyone who's shown support.
Long road to recovery, but Kelly's road's going to be a lot longer than mine. But we'll get through it together.
The Kavanaghs' message to Canadians is live life to the fullest and hug your loved ones tighter. Their dog Frankie also survived. They have yet to be reunited. Heather.
All right, Sarah, thank you for this. Still ahead, rolling out the red carpet for Hollywood's biggest night. A sneak preview of the potential snubs and surprises. The 97th Academy Awards arrive this weekend, so break out your Oscar pool sheets and let's look to some of those big predictions. E-Talk will be live from the Oscars red carpet this Sunday, and we're joined this evening by host Tyrone Edwards. The countdown is on. Set the scene for us. What is the atmosphere like right now where you are?
Well, I think you said it perfectly. It's a countdown. 2 days before the biggest night in Hollywood. Fridays are usually set for, a bit of orientation, a lot of the technical stuff, the things that I don't have to worry too much about, but it's making sure that everything is in the right place. And then Saturday, there's a lot of the dress rehearsals and going through the content and getting ready for that final red carpet. So right now, it's, a lot of energy. This is everybody's first day on the carpet. I don't know if you can see here, but the carpet is still covered with some tarp. That's just to maintain that beautiful beauty for when the stars arrive on Sunday evening.
Okay, and Tyrone, what are you looking for on Sunday? Any big predictions? Any particular outfits? What are you excited for on Sunday?
Okay, so typically I would have like 1 or 2 predictions that I just ride on, and I can bank on those. This year is so different. Each category, whether it's the biggest category, best picture, best actress, best actor, it could literally go anywhere. So I'm excited to see where this journey goes. This is a big journey from the Golden Globes at the beginning of the award season, the Critics' Choice, and all the other award shows that bring us to this. This is the final dance. So I'm excited to see who goes home with the big wins. I'm excited to see some of the presenters. I'm excited to see the performances. Honestly, like I said, this is something that we all love. We love TV. We love film, and this is the night, the final night, to celebrate the great contributions from this year.
Yes, an exciting night ahead. Tyrone, thank you. And you can catch the Oscars right here on CTV Sunday night starting at 7 p.m. And right after the ceremony, Tyrone and co-host Lainey Louie and Liz Trinier will break down the biggest Oscar moments with E-Talk after the Oscars live from the rooftop of the iconic Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. Ahead of its descent, a lunar lander is capturing stellar new views of the moon. These stunning close-up images of the far side of the moon were snapped by the Blue Ghost lander. It's one of 3 private lunar landers on the way to the surface in a new space race of sorts. This one is expected to touch down early Sunday. Well, after the break, another spectacle that's out of this world when everything falls into line for a planetary parade. Tonight is your best chance to catch a glimpse of a rare planet parade taking place in the night sky. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus should be visible shortly after sunset. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth is keeping his eye on the horizon tonight and has more on this planetary alignment, Paul.
Heather, this is a rare event, but if the skies are clear, a lot of people should be able to see the planet parade. It's a Skywatcher's extravaganza. The 7 planets will all be visible at the same time in the nighttime sky.
Whenever you see those pictures of the solar system and everything's lined up in a nice plane, it really looks like that. It's like a giant record in the sky.
A planet parade or planetary alignment happens when planets gather closely on one side of the sun. This outer space irregularity will not be arranged in a vertical straight line.
It's like a rainbow, like an arc that goes all the way across the sky. That is the plane of the ecliptic.
Astronomy technician Tiffany Fields says, scientifically speaking, the planets are always visible, especially with a telescope. But because of the shape of the solar system, this rare alignment means the 7 planets will appear in a neat, orderly arrangement.
Having 7 planets in the sky is not a particularly common thing. Having a few planets in the sky is pretty common, but it is kind of neat.
Dan Riskin says it would be a shame to miss it. But if it's too cloudy tonight and the planetary view is obstructed, don't be sad because other celestial can't miss opportunities await.
We have a lunar eclipse coming up next month, and there's always something down the road, and the heavens provide. They keep giving us a great show.
Just to underscore how rare this is, astronomers are already forecasting well into the future, and they say the next 7-planet parade will happen in 11 years. Heather.
All right, Paul, something to look forward to. And that is your newscast for this Friday. Thank you for sharing your time with us. I will be back later tonight with CTV National News at 11. For ongoing coverage of Canada's top stories, tune into CTV News Channel. Your local CTV News starts right now.